The fire started in an attic room at 2:43 a.m. on December 17, 2010. An electric light from a Christmas concert left on next to a wooden speaker. By 6 a.m., the flames engulfed the entire building and the roof collapsed. Firefighters could only watch as a piece of Provo's history burned to the ground.
It was as if somebody dearly beloved had died. It was as if that building had a soul. It really was. You saw a grown man crying on the sidewalk out in front of the fire. And after it burned, the city actually had a memorial, like a funeral service for the building. That's how much we love that building.
The only item that survived the intense heat and smoke was this large painting of Christ that hung on the wall, something the news media called a Christmas miracle.
In the middle of all the destruction, something survived, something that people are calling a Christmas miracle.
I think it's pretty miraculous.
As the fire burned, the flames did not touch the image of Jesus Christ in this painting.
Well, it's not only did it not burn the image of Christ, but the silhouette, the outline to me was, I gotta tell you, it really touched me in a way. It just did.
Congressman Jason Chaffetz took this picture after touring the rubble of the Provo Tabernacle the next day.
Peeked in the window, and it was still smoldering. It was the fire was still burning in parts of the building, and then here's this painting that part of it had survived, and I was just absolutely amazed.
The LDS Church now has possession of the print of Harry Anderson's Second Coming that survived the fire. A church spokesman declined to say what they plan to do with it. People who have come to see what's left of the Provo Tabernacle can't stop talking about the painting.
Well, I think it's miraculous. What do you think?
I think so too. I think it's just kind of his way of saying that I'm in the little things, and in the big things, and this is okay.
In Provo, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
When the smoke cleared, the burnt-out tabernacle looked like a screen from the bombing of London. Only the charred and blackened brick walls stood in the cold winter air.
About how the roof had collapsed at about 6 a.m., I knew the building was gone. And just that whole day, I just felt numb, that we could look off towards downtown and see the ugly gray smoke rising, and the tabernacle continued to burn for some time.
It took early settlers just 3 years to build the Provo Tabernacle, finishing in 1886. Leaders of the LDS Church were in prison on polygamy charges at the time of the dedication and could not attend. The sturdy brick structure stood as a landmark in Utah County, a place of cultural and religious significance.
Everybody felt a little bit of ownership almost in that building. They had their graduation there, or their recital there, or their state conference there. And everybody had some type of significant event in that building that tied them to that building, so that people around the world contacted me when it burned and expressed regret because they just had that emotional tie to the building.
For months, the burned-out tabernacle stood silent, with no decision on if the church would rebuild it or clear the lot. But on October 1st, 2011, during LDS General Conference, President Thomas S. Monson confirmed that the phoenix would rise from the ashes, but with a bigger purpose.
Late last year, the Provo Tabernacle in Utah County was seriously damaged by a terrible fire. This wonderful building, much beloved by generations of Latter-day Saints, was left with only the exterior walls standing. After careful study, we've decided to rebuild it with full preservation and restoration of the exterior to become the second temple of the church in the city of Provo. The existing Provo temple is one of the busiest in the church, and a second temple there will facilitate the increasing numbers of faithful church members who are attending the temple from Provo and the surrounding communities.
Immediately, crews began the time-consuming process of reconstructing the burnt walls, making it look like it once did, except better. The fire and water damaged the tabernacle so much that crews had to use steel beams to hold the walls together.
You don't want to have a temple that's going to fall down. In 100 years, we're building these temples to last into the millennium.
In essence, they had to build a modern building, then attach the old brick face to the outside.
You've got thousands of systems and components that all have to work in harmony. It's a very complex maze of issues that have to just be 100% right. The complexity of the design requires the very best that most workers have ever had to give on a project.
Richard Cowan taught religion at BYU for 53 years and recently wrote a book about the conversion of the Provo Tabernacle into the temple. He says Provo is now the only city in the world that has 2 LDS temples within its boundaries.
There will be 2 temples located closer together than anywhere else in the church. The Provo Temple and the Provo City Center Temple are only just over 3 miles apart.
It took nearly 4 years to complete the renovation, and the new and improved building will officially open in March of 2016. Officials say the City Center Temple has a ripple effect and will bring thousands of visitors.
It will bring visitors who will want to come see just the building, that aren't even familiar with the LDS religion, that people will just come to see that building. It's like they do in other significant LDS buildings. It'll bring people to participate in the church work inside, and thousands of them. And I think the real masses will actually come for the weddings. I believe next to Salt Lake Temple, you'll have more LDS weddings here than any place in the church.
The first Provo Temple, located just outside of Rock Canyon, is the busiest temple in the church. It will continue to serve the area residents and missionaries at the nearby Missionary Training Center. Few weddings occur at the old Provo Temple, brides instead choosing the more visually appealing temples in American Fork, Draper, and Payson. But it looks like the new City Center Temple will be a game change.
It was a choice between the Manti, the Salt Lake, and that one. And then we kind of narrowed it down by going down to Manti and decided not to get married there. And then I saw a picture that a friend of mine took of the Provo City Center, so I decided on that one. It was the better choice.
By rights, the Provo City Center Temple shouldn't even be here, but it is. It's like in the great stories of the past, the ones that really mattered, full of disappointment and danger, even darkness. But in the end, even darkness must pass. A new day comes, and when the sun shines, it shines out the clearer. The folks in this story had lots of chances of turning back, only they didn't. They kept going because they were holding on to something good in the world, something worth fighting for.